You're watching Business Africa. I'm Ruth Lago. Here are the headlines. Will more African countries embrace factoring as a development tool for SMEs in Central Africa? In Congo, a law enacted in 2021 frames the practice. Zimbabwe relies on tobacco sales to boost its economy, which is mired in a severe foreign exchange crisis. What will happen to the iron ore from Mount Simandou? A project that has been halted halfway through and should eventually enable Guinea to double its gross domestic product. Afreximbank and FCI, the Global Receivables Financing Organisation, are trying to promote factoring in Central Africa. It allows SMEs to have faster access to financing. In Africa, Egypt, Tunisia and South Africa are leaders in this field.
To support the growth of small and medium enterprises, Afreximbank wants to promote factoring in Central Africa to further boost job creation and stimulate the economy in this region. Factoring is essentially a funding source that agrees to pay the company value of an invoice less a discount for commission and fees. This principle has already proven itself on the continent. According to CFI, the global body in charge of receivables financing, in 2018 the volume of factoring increased from more than $22 billion to more than $24 billion in 2019, a growth of 10%. The leading countries are Egypt, South Africa and Tunisia. However, in Botswana, Senegal and Nigeria, factoring companies are also emerging. This is a case in Congo, where a law enacted in 2021 provides a framework for the sector, and the Postal Bank has delegated a whole service by the year 2020 and has processed between $600 and more than $700,000 of invoices per month. By using invoice financing, SMEs can hope to achieve their growth ambitions and contribute more to the continent's economy. However, factoring has its drawbacks. The associated costs vary depending on the perceived risks. Some believe that the practice can result in the loss of direct communication and relationships with partners or suppliers.
I'm now receiving Mr. Gauthier Navant, head of the factoring department at the Postal Bank of Congo. What motivated the implementation of factoring?
What motivated the setting up of factoring at Postal Bank of Congo are the difficulties of access to financing encountered by these SMEs. In reality, these companies are generally subject to cash flow issues due to payment delays. Let me give you an example. These companies trade with each other, but the reality of the market shows that their payments take some time, sometimes even 90 days later. But in the meantime, these companies have to deal with certain expenses inherent to their activities. And there are many companies that are in this situation. They will turn to the bank for an overdraft or even a credit facility, but the bank will ask for a mortgage to act as a guarantee. And so the Postal Bank of Congo has deemed it appropriate to play the role of firefighting by setting up this mechanism that will allow such companies to assign its bills to them, which in return for this financing takes place very quickly. And sometimes it gets done within 24 or 48 hours.
What are the risks to which companies that accept to practice factoring are exposed?
Any activity always involves risk to any company. And in the case of factoring, yes, there are risks that must be expected and that must be mitigated and covered. Among these risks, you have fraud. This is a risk of having a fraudulent invoice transferred or simply an invoice that has already been transferred to another bank or another factoring company. This is a risk to be taken into account when dealing in such business. And there is a credit risk too. For example, if you buy an invoice, a receivable, and a debtor who has been assigned is bankrupt and therefore cannot pay the factor, If it is non-recourse factoring, there is no possible recourse for the member or the assigner of the invoice. There is the operational risk, which is linked to human error, human malfunction, malfunctioning of the application, or bad practice, or even lack of process. So all this can cause operational risks.
Des mauvaises pratiques ou bien le manque de processus. Donc tout cela peut causer le risque opérationnel.
How can we help a greater implementation of factoring in Central Africa?
Implementing factoring at the bank level is a must, and it should also involve training. Today, there is a worldwide factoring network called the FCI, which is known as the Factor Change International, which is located in Amsterdam, and it actually specializes in factoring. These entities can help with the implementation of factoring at bank level. You have the support, for example, of Africanews, which is a Pan-African bank, which emanates, moreover, from ADB, which supports the implementation of factoring at the level of banks and which accompanies, moreover, banks in the implementation of factoring. I think it is very important for banks to practice this, and this will help guarantee them in terms of difficulties facing some of these SMEs.
Thank you, Mr. Gauthier-Navon.
You are welcome.
Zimbabwe is one of the 6 largest tobacco producers in the world. In 2021, the country exported more than 200 million kilograms, which places it in the top 3 of tobacco leaf exporting countries. Our correspondent Saskia Violette followed the opening of the sales season.
Since mid-March, traders have flocked to the Zimbabwe Center for Tobacco Industry and Marketing in Harare to buy this season's harvest at the best price. This commodity exchange market continues to grow in Zimbabwe. The country is Africa's leading producer of tobacco and number 6 in the world. In 2021, more than 200 kilograms of tobacco were produced in Zimbabwe.
This year so far we have sold around 173 million kilograms, valued around 526 million USD, and our target is to produce 200 million kilograms. Tobacco is 50% of the agriculture GDP and overall 5% of our national GDP. We are talking here about 160,000 households with dependency plus or minus 2.5 million Zimbabweans depending on tobacco value chain.
This is the case with Peter, who has been growing tobacco for more than 10 years. In total, there are 140,000 tobacco farmers in Zimbabwe, 80% of whom are smallholder farmers.
This is when most of our income comes in. This is we've been working over this for the last 18 months, the final part of our sales, and this is where we get to sell our tobacco and get what we've worked for to get it back in.
Zimbabwe's government launched a strategy last year to transform the tobacco value chain with the aim of bringing production to 300 million kilograms by 2025.
In Guinea, Mount Simandou is said to contain the world's largest undeveloped iron ore deposit, except that work on the mine has been plagued by scandals for decades. So why is the Simandou mine so important to the Guinean economy, and what is blocking its completion?
The railroad and port infrastructure that had to be built from the Simandou project in southern Guinea have been at a standstill since July 4, 2009 on the orders of the Guinean authorities. Yet, it remains one of the largest iron ore deposits in the world, which analysts say holds a significant place in the development of the Guinean economy.
C'est une infrastructure qui va permettre
This is an infrastructure that would allow Guinea to exploit the deposits that will double its gross domestic product (GDP), which is around 9 to 10 billion US dollars per year. It is a mine that will revitalize the local economy in terms of projected revenues for the state and the public treasury.
C'est une mine qui va révolutionner l'économie locale en termes de prévisions de recettes pour l'État, donc pour le trésor public.
The cessation of work by Rio Tinto and the winning consortium, which according to Conakry lacked the will to set up a joint venture, will not be without consequences.
L'emploi est menacé. Le projet Simandou dans son volet bloc 1
Employment is threatened. The Simandou project in its Block 1 and 2 component represents no less than 4,800 local jobs. And I think that all states in the world are concerned about protecting employment and the purchasing power of their citizens. The second consequence is that Guinea will once again miss out on the ideal foreign direct investment opportunity.
Une fois de plus, rater la destination idéale des investissements étrangers directs.
According to observers, Conakry will have to make concessions by financing, for example, its 15% stake in the infrastructure construction company.
Thank you, and see you soon for a new episode of Business Africa on Africanews and Africanews.com.